Neutering your pet is one of the major decisions that any pet parent has to make, and it's a question we all grapple with to some extent. So, today, let's establish what it is, what are the recommendations, and when you would or would not go for it. Welcome to the Practical Pet Parenting Podcast, where science and research meets simplicity, practicality, and humor. Because we all know that pet parenting isn't just one thing. It's magical, beautiful, life-changing, frustrating, and overwhelming all at the same time. I'm Dr. Ashita Suresh, a vet, a mom, a dog mom, on the multiple species pet parenting journey just like so many of you. Join me as we cut through the noise, fear, and fluff and take pet parenting from overwhelming to, well, barely manageable. Now, what is neutering? Neutering is simply rendering an animal incapable of producing offspring. This is the core definition. Now, under this is where we have so many categories, methods, whatever. Surgical neutering, what we commonly refer to as neutering. So we have non-surgical sterilization, all those things. They are just different methods, but the core principle is making them unable to have offspring. Before we go into recommendations, there are some myths about neutering that we definitely need to clear the air about. First one being that neutering changes their nature or they may become calmer. Now, while the common belief is that animals become less aggressive after neutering, especially male animals, the fact is that only aggression related to reproductive behaviors, for example, running behind female dogs when they are in heat, fighting for females with other males, marking their territory, only these things will decrease. They are not going to do a 180 in terms of their nature. If your dog is grumpy before neutering, they will still be grumpy after neutering. If they are very friendly and playful, they will still be that even after neutering. Their core nature is not going to change. Only the behaviors that they were showing related to reproduction is going to change. Second is that they will gain weight. Now, this is partially true. But what is not true is that this is often projected as an automatic process. It is really not. Now, while it is true that their metabolism kind of slows down and they can gain weight more easily than before they were neutered, there are a lot of things we can do to actually counteract this. First one is adjusting their diet. So they will automatically need about 10 to 15% less food than they used to have before neutering. This alone can go a long way in preventing weight gain. And the second is obviously to keep them active, because this is a vicious cycle. The more weight they gain, the more stress on their joints, the more they don't want to be active. So we need to nip that in the bud by adjusting their diet immediately after they are neutered. Third one can go either way. Some people claim it increases their lifespan. Some people claim it decreases their lifespan. Now, I am here to tell you that both are not true. There is no single evidence-based claim that can tell you either this way or that way. This is a very individual thing to discuss. There is no evidence by which we can say for certain it is this way or that way. Now, coming to recommendations for neutering, as in when would you go for neutering? This differs in female animals and male animals. In female dogs and cats, neutering is largely recommended, mainly due to the risk of pyometra, which is an infection of the uterus, mainly caused by the way their reproductive system and their hormonal flow is kind of set up. And also the risk of mammary tumors or breast cancer, which is greatly reduced by neutering. Now, in male dogs and cats, the general consensus is that it is recommended in specific circumstances. What are these specific circumstances? Mainly behavioral issues. Intact male dogs and cats do tend to show a lot of undesirable behaviors when they are inside the home. Typically territory marking, the urine spraying in cats, and even dogs tend to pee everywhere. Also, the restlessness and the kind of distress they show when they can sense a female dog outside in heat. This makes them very difficult to live with inside the house. So when these behaviors cause them and their parents a lot of distress, neutering would be best at this time. Other medical issues would include urinary tract issues in cats. Neutering does help to reduce that to some extent, and prostate issues in dogs. Older dogs tend to get prostate enlargement, and since this is largely testosterone dependent, neutering greatly helps to reduce this. Another important thing to note is that besides surgery, there are other methods for neutering. They can be temporary, they can be permanent, but they do exist, like implants, hormonal injections, gonad sparing, meaning a surgery where they preserve the ovaries in the female or give something closer to a vasectomy in a male. All these methods, while they did exist before, they are becoming a lot more accessible now. Now, coming to the most important part. The question of which method you should go for neutering or whether you should even neuter at all is a very individual decision that needs to be made on a risk benefit analysis of that particular dog. For example, a male dog who constantly has females around him and he's constantly showing distress, he's not eating for days, he's busy marking everywhere and becoming very difficult to live with, versus a dog who does not have that much female exposure. Female dogs already having hip issues and joint issues, and she's a lot more prone to weight gain. The health of the dog in particular, whether they are even suitable for surgery, whether they have any pre-existing conditions, these things will weigh in greatly when you are deciding whether to get your pet neutered or not. And I think a great thing that is happening now is that the veterinary community is moving away from the blanket recommendation of spay neuter. It's not an automatic decision anymore. With more and more research, we are taking in the individual nuances, the individual life, and the individual pet into account before we help you make the decision. Ultimately, I'm going to leave you with this. While you're grappling with whether you want to neuter your pet or not, discuss it with your vet, look at all your options, look at your pet, and then decide.
Thank you so much for listening to the Practical Pet Parenting Podcast. If you found this helpful, don't forget to follow, rate, or review. Whatever your podcasting app allows you to do it. You can also find me on Instagram at Indian Pet Vet and read more at practicalpetparenting.com. Much love to you and your pets, and see you next week.